My heart pounded in my chest as I pressed the phone tighter against my ear. My breath came in short gasps, and the hospital room suddenly felt smaller, as if the walls were closing in on me. I could still hear the fear in my daughter Melody's voice from just moments ago. "Mommy, Grandma and Grandpa just drove away. I'm here alone," she had cried through the phone, her voice shaking. "They said they're going to Uncle Peter's party and that I'm old enough to stay by myself. I'm scared." I gripped the bed sheets, trying to steady myself, but my hands were shaking. "You're not going to leave her alone," I shouted into my phone, my voice cracking with panic. My body was already weak from the surgery, but this news made me feel even more helpless. "My name is Tina Harper, Tina to everyone who knows me, and I'm a 36-year-old widow doing my best to raise my 10-year-old daughter, Melody. My husband, Michael, passed away 3 years ago in a car accident, leaving just the two of us to navigate life without him. Since his death, Melody has struggled with anxiety, often waking up in the middle of the night from nightmares, worried something might happen to me too. Now, her worst fears were coming true. The people who were supposed to care for her had abandoned her when she needed them the most." On the other end of the call, my father-in-law, Gerald, sighed loudly, as if I was the one causing a problem. "Tina, you're overreacting. She needs to toughen up. She's not a baby anymore. We'll be back in a few hours." I sat up straighter in my hospital bed, ignoring the dull pain in my stomach from my emergency gallbladder surgery the night before. "A few hours?" I repeated, my voice rising. "She's 10 years old, Gerald. It's illegal to leave a child that age alone. Get back to my house right now. We're already halfway to Peter's." My mother-in-law, Barbara, cut in. Her tone was impatient, as if I was bothering her with my concerns. "It's his 60th birthday, and the whole family is there. Melody was invited too, but she didn't want to come. That was her choice." My blood boiled. How could they act like this was no big deal? I was stuck in a hospital bed, unable to get to my daughter, and they had just left her, completely alone, because a birthday party was more important? "I'm calling Janet," I said through clenched teeth. "She'll check on Melody, and when I get out of here tomorrow, you will never have unsupervised access to my daughter again." "Oh, Tina, stop being so dramatic," Barbara scoffed. "Michael would have understood. You're the one making her soft." That was the final straw, using my late husband against me, trying to make me feel guilty for protecting my child. "This conversation is over. Stay away from my house." I ended the call without waiting for a response. My hands shook as I quickly dialed Janet, our neighbor from across the street. She picked up right away, thank God. As soon as I explained the situation, she promised to go over immediately and stay with Melody until I figured out what to do next. As I hung up, I felt tears sting my eyes, not from sadness, but from sheer anger and frustration. My heart ached, but not from my surgery. It was the pain of betrayal. Michael's parents had always doubted my parenting, always made little comments about how I was too protective or too emotional. But this crossed a line. This wasn't just about different parenting styles anymore. This was about trust they had just shattered beyond repair. That night, as I kissed Melody goodnight, I couldn't shake the unease creeping into my mind. Were any of us truly safe from what was coming next? I didn't know, but I had a sinking feeling that things were about to spiral even further out of control. The next morning, I checked my email and felt my stomach twist. There it was, an official message from Child Protective Services. They had opened an investigation. The email stated that Miss Patterson, the assigned social worker, would be conducting interviews with everyone involved, starting with a home visit that very afternoon. It also contained links to resources about child safety and family counseling, as if reading those would somehow fix everything. As I walked Melody to the bus stop, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and saw the name flashing on the screen, Barbara. My in-laws had been relentless ever since they realized I wasn't going to just let this go. I rejected the call, but almost immediately, a text message appeared. "We're coming over at noon to talk. This has gone far enough." My hands shook as I typed my response. "Do not come to my house. If you show up uninvited, I will call the police." The 3 dots indicating she was typing appeared, then disappeared, then they reappeared before her final reply came through. "You wouldn't dare. Try me," I shot back. After seeing Melody safely onto the school bus, I wasted no time calling the non-emergency police line. I explained the situation to the officer on duty, the CPS investigation, the harassment, the fact that I had explicitly told my in-laws not to come. The officer was sympathetic and promised to have a patrol car drive by around noon, just in case. At exactly 11:55, I watched from my front window as Gerald's large SUV pulled into my driveway. My heartbeat pounded in my ears as I saw them step out of the car. Barbara's face was tight with determination, while Gerald's was set in a deep scowl. They strode up to my front door, and when Gerald inserted his key into the lock, his face contorted in confusion. I had changed the locks 2 days ago, anticipating something like this. Barbara rang the doorbell, once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. When I still didn't open the door, Gerald started pounding on it, his fists slamming against the wood. I took a deep breath and pressed the button on my video doorbell. "I told you not to come, please leave my property." Gerald stepped back, glaring at the camera. "This is ridiculous, we have a right to see our granddaughter. Your granddaughter is at school, and you have no right to be here after I told you not to come. The police have been notified." As if on cue, a patrol car rolled up to the curb. The officer stepped out, his expression calm but firm as he approached my in-laws. I watched from inside as Gerald's face turned a deep shade of red, his arms flailing as he pointed toward my house. Barbara shook her head, speaking quickly, but the officer remained unmoved. Eventually, they both got back into their SUV, but not before shooting one last glare at my door. A gentle knock followed a few moments later. "Miss Harper, they're gone now. Would you like to make a formal statement about the situation?" I let the officer inside and told him everything: the abandonment, the CPS report, their refusal to respect my boundaries. He took notes and advised me to consider filing a temporary restraining order if they continued to harass me. After he left, I collapsed onto the couch, exhausted and emotionally drained. A dull pain throbbed from my recent surgery, reminding me that I had forgotten to take my pain medication in the chaos of the morning. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Peter's wife, Jessica. "Tina, what's going on? Mom and Dad just called Peter in tears, saying the police forced them away from your house." I exhaled slowly. "They showed up uninvited after I explicitly told them not to come. The police simply asked them to leave." "Don't you think you're taking this too far?" Jessica asked. "They made a mistake. A mistake that put my child in danger." I interrupted. "Would you have left your sons alone at 10 years old?" Jessica hesitated. "Well, no, but..." "Then don't ask me to accept something you wouldn't tolerate for your own children." After I hung up, I checked Facebook and felt sick. Barbara had posted a long, dramatic message about being kept from our precious granddaughter and falsely accused of neglect. She tagged several family members, who were now commenting with concern and confusion. But not everyone believed her version of events. "Wait, did you really leave Melody alone while Tina was in the hospital? That doesn't sound right. Weren't you at Peter's party that night? Was Melody there too?" For the first time, the truth was cracking through their lies. 3 days later, Miss Patterson from CPS sat in my living room, her notepad filled with notes. "Based on our investigation, there's sufficient evidence to support your claim of child neglect," she said. "Your daughter confirmed being left alone, and your in-laws admitted to it, though they insist it wasn't for long." "What happens now?" I asked, a mix of relief and anxiety. "While this doesn't meet the level of criminal charges, it will be on record. If another incident occurs, it will strengthen any future case. Have you considered family counseling?" "I don't know if I want them back in our lives at all," I admitted. That evening, as I checked my email, my blood ran cold. A lawyer had sent me a message on behalf of Gerald and Barbara. Grandparent visitation rights. They were taking me to court. Panicked, I forwarded the email to Elaine, my attorney friend. She called me immediately. "First, don't panic," she said. "Second, they don't have a strong case. Grandparents' rights are hard to win, especially with a CPS finding of neglect. I'll represent you if it comes to that." That night, as Melody and I ate dinner, the doorbell rang. Checking the camera, I saw Peter standing alone, looking conflicted. I hesitated before opening the door. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. I let him in, keeping Melody in sight. "Jessica's sister is a child psychologist," he started, rubbing his hands together. "She said what Mom and Dad did was completely inappropriate and could have been traumatic for Melody." He sighed. "I didn't want to believe they would be so irresponsible, but they lied to the whole family. They told everyone you had arranged alternative care, and that's why Melody wasn't with them." I froze. "They lied to everyone?" Peter nodded grimly. "I'm afraid so.